Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and part number 7, the finale of the Monogram 1/48 scale B-17G for the Chatterbox Attack Bomber Aircraft Group Build. And I'm glad that's the last time I'm going to have to say all that. Alright, so here it is in all its glory. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this kit. But it is an older kit, I think first released in 1977 by Monogram. I think Revell has re-released it under their brand, but with less interior detail. But the original 1977 version, or any of the Monogram versions themselves, are pretty nice kits. If you followed along on the build, you'll know that there's a lot of interior going on, and there's quite a bit of interior, and there's a lot of aftermarket kits to really detail them out. However, and I've said it, from early on, most of what I did on the interior was pretty much an exercise, because virtually all of it is not even visible. The only places that are visible are in the nose, Bombardier's area. You can see a little bit in the cockpit. You can see very tiny little bit through the radio operator's window back here, but there you really can't see anything inside. So if someone were to ask me, should I do the interior, I would say, well, it's entirely up to you, but if you want to do it, and I did it, and I was glad I did, but it's a lot of work, a lot of painting, a lot of stuff like that that you can't see. So it's one of those, well, I know it's there things. But to do over again, I probably would not do the interior. I would do just basic colors on the inside. I would paint the cockpit, seats, the console, stuff like that, and I would paint the stuff in the nose. But even the cockpit, you can't even see the instrument panel. There are aftermarket instrument panels that look glorious, and they would be a total waste of time and resources, specifically money. But if a person likes adding all that stuff and just likes the build aspect of it, more power to you. I enjoy doing it, and this is the second one of these kits I built. I built one back in the mid-90s. And then here I am building it again, the same exact kit, same boxing and everything, but interior invisible. So that's something to consider if you build this kit. As for the fit and so forth, it is for the most part pretty good. I think it would be considered very good for the time frame in which it was first molded. However, by today's standards, it's rough. It's not, I wouldn't say it's by any means bad, but there are some things that you have to sand, you have to fill, and stuff like that. It's just the nature of kits back then. And people usually build these kits knowing that going in, as I did for this kit. But it's nothing that's, very difficult. If a person wants to put a little bit of elbow grease into a kit, it's perfectly serviceable. And I have to say that I really enjoyed building this kit. It was a lot of fun because it was very nostalgic, not because this was a kit that in 1977 I thought I would never obtain. I thought that's just one of those kits I'll never do. It's just too big, too quote-unquote costly at the time, and just the amount of detail on it for the time period was pretty crazy. So it's nice to be able to build them as an adult. I can really appreciate them. Even doing all of the sanding and the filling and the fitting and the faffing about with getting stuff to line up just right and all this kind of stuff, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It took a while to build. I started it in January, and here we are in April. But it was time well spent. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole process. Normally, if I have a kit that's a long-term project, I'll set it aside just to take a break. I kind of did that, but not really. I would set it aside for a few days, but then I just jump back on it and work on something. So it was a really enjoyable kit for me. I really liked building this thing. Now, as far as the fit and everything, it does fit together really well. There's nothing that's like crooked or twisted or misaligned. And by misaligned, I mean stuff like the fuselage, just like that. You put the fuselage together and it pretty well fits up like it's supposed to. Seams all the way around. You know, they line up like they're supposed to. So it was a well-engineered kit. Not only for, you know, the time frame in which it was molded, but the fit is still good now. Again, there's some things that, you know, are just because of the old methods of molding kits that aren't the same as nowadays. But again, it's you know, it fits together like it's supposed to. So there's that. There's not a whole lot of parts to it, so it's not time consuming in that method or in that way. It's just gluing it together, checking the seams, making sure they're smooth, and all that kind of stuff. Now, this kit does have raised panel lines, and I was looking at it last night after I had it set up on my desk, and I, you know, had dinner and all that kind of stuff, and I came back and I was looking at it, and to me, this is going to have to rank pretty high with all of my builds as far as satisfaction with the end result. And here's why. It doesn't have recessed panel lines. You know, it doesn't have some of the modern touches to it. It doesn't have, you know, rivet detail and all that kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. I mean, I like it. I love modern kits. And, you know, I build modern kits. But seeing it sitting on the shelf, just like you see it here on this video, to me, that is the way a model kit like this is meant to be viewed. You put it on a table and you look at it from about this distance, and you have a really reasonable facsimile in comparison to a photo that would be framed similarly. I hope that makes sense. Because when you look at an airplane in real life like this from this distance, you're not going to see a bunch of panel lines. You're not going to see a bunch of rivets. There's a lot of detail that's included with more modern model kits that aren't on this kit. But in the end, you're seeing it a little more as you would see it in real life. Again, I hope that makes sense. But just in looking at it sitting, like this one's actually going to be hanging from the ceiling because I don't have any shelves or space cabinets big enough to put it on. So it's going to hang from the ceiling. So it's going to be viewed from a reasonable distance, and it will look good hanging up there. So that's one aspect of this kit that I really like. Just looking at it on the shelf, I'm really satisfied with how it turned out. All right, aftermarket. So for aftermarket, I didn't do a whole lot. I did do resin wheels. I did metal machine gun barrels, and I did an aftermarket decal set. The wheels, really nice. I think they were headboard. I can't remember. But very nice detail, super easy to clean up, and yeah, other than that, they worked. I did have to bore out the hole for the axle a little bit because it was a little too small for the axles on this particular aircraft, but that was real easy. Just drilled them out a little bit and boom, they worked. Then we have the metal barrels. I think the brand is Master, I think. I also ordered those from Hannet's in England, and very nice. You have the barrel, then you have the barrel sleeve, the perforated barrel sleeve for cooling, and then you have two sets of extended flash hiders for the tail guns and the chin turret guns. And then there was the decal set. The decal set was super scale decal set, and they are very nice decals, very thin. The printing is really good. The only thing that one could complain about, I guess, would be like on the national insignia on the either side of the fuselage, and then on the upper wing over here and the lower wing here. The insignia blue is just ever so slightly transparent, but once you get some weathering on there, dust and stuff like that, it virtually disappears. So very good decals, really easy to work with. I used Tamiya, or not Tamiya, but Tester's decal set to apply them, and then I used Solvaset, Walther's Solvaset, for to get them to really conform to some of the more pronounced details. In actuality, I probably could have got away with just the Tester's decal set, but you know, some of the stuff was being a little more stubborn. But the decal set's really nice. Now, one thing to note is I think when they do research on those, sometimes it's done at a time period. They use whatever research materials they have available. As the years progress, more evidence pops up about a given aircraft or vehicle or whatever, and some of the details may change. So I think that might have been what happened with this particular decal set, but nowhere does it note on the decal set anything about the paint job. Well, some missing parts of the paint job. So one of the reasons I picked this kit is the silver, the aluminum tail, and the shark's mouth markings here. I really like that. That was one of the reasons I picked this. So that's what I did. Now, I did that stuff and went off of the decal sheet instructions as far as the painting and the colors and stuff like that. However, I don't know if it came to light later, or if it's something they overlooked, or if I maybe missed it on the decal instructions, which I don't think I did, but it's possible. But I think the upper panel here and underneath on the wings here and here, I think on both sides should be aluminum. Just this area right here should be aluminum, like a patch job or replacement panels or something like that. And then that door should be aluminum. That was not indicated on the instructions. I just did that later because it was easy to do. These upper panels and lower panels, they would have been easy as well if I hadn't already been applied the decals. And I was not going to redo the decals, so I just left it as is, gray underneath, olive drab up top. So yeah, I don't know if that was something that was discovered later on after those decals were made, or if the decals were perhaps, if they missed that when they did the research. I don't know. But it's no big deal. I'm not overly concerned with it. One other detail that this particular aircraft had was the leading edges of the wings here and the leading edge of the vertical stabilizer. Those should not have the de-icer boots. It should just be bare aluminum. However, I did not do that because these de-icer boots are raised as detail in comparison to the wings, so it would have been kind of incorrect. If this would have been recessed, I could have pulled it off a little easier. And I'm sure there's a way to, you know, recess all that, but I don't have those skills. So I just left them black, and so there you go. So it's not entirely accurate to the actual aircraft, but I'm okay with that. All right, well, I think that's basically it about this kit. So nice kit. Now, what I like to always mention in my videos, since I like to aim towards beginners or, you know, people just getting into the hobby, is it a beginner's kit? I would say yes, with caveats. This kit can be built straight from the box easily. Putting the parts together, gluing the parts together, lining everything up. All that can be done by a beginning modeler. It's not that hard. Now, taking care of all of the seams and the weird seams like there were like in places around these engine nacelles where they kind of come out, then down, and then forward, that would take a little more skill. So a beginner could build it, a more advanced modeler could build it and tackle all of the fit challenges that would be left behind just gluing the kit together. So it could appeal to either group, beginner or a more advanced modeler, either one. So yeah, I think that's about it for this particular kit. So thanks for following along and listening to all my blabbing about this kit, but I felt it needed extra because it's quite a bit different kit than what I usually build, and it's quite large and quite involved, and so I felt it deserved a little more commentary. So as always, I will put a link at the end of the video in the end screen if you want to start at the beginning for the build and work your way through. If you enjoyed this series, if you've been following along, let me know, and put some comments down below and let me know what you thought of the whole project. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So following will be a short slideshow, and I do have to say it was quite challenging photographing and videoing this thing because it is flipping huge, and I don't really have an area in my my work area here big enough to set it on other than my desktop, and it's like the edge is right here, so this takes up a lot of room. So anyway, thanks for following along with the Monogram 148 scale B-17G for the Chatterbox Attack Bomber Aircraft Group build. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you liked it, and as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and I will see you all later.